Happy Wednesday. You're watching the John McEntyre Show live. I'm John McEntyre, and this show is dedicated to your financial health and wellness. Today we have a good show, a good topic to discuss. And before I get into it, I'm going to go through our wallet wins that we received. I'll go through do the question of the day, then we'll be there. It's actually one of those days where the sun's out, so I'm a little bit better today. I had someone ask me, "Are you gonna report the weather?" Like, yeah, I'll do that for you. So yeah, it's nice and sunny out there, with probably a 15% chance of rain. Barometric pressure is a little bit low, and I don't know what I'm talking about. So I'm here to talk about money. Let's talk about money here. So the first wallet win is I talked with my kids about my financial future. That was a good one. I actually talked to someone and they had watched one of the past shows about the parents talking with the kids about what they plan to do in retirement, or what they will be able to do in retirement, and that they may need some assistance, whatever. So that is a big wallet win there. Wallet win number two, I made my last credit card payment. Yep. And if we stay on that track, that's one of those nice long-term wallet wins. Um, Wallet win number three, finally sold a piece of property I inherited right before COVID-19 hit. I'm using the proceeds to pay off all debt and fund my retirement. Now, that's a serious wallet win. Um, Anytime something like that happens where you can accelerate or catch up your plans financially, it's always something that will pay off. Yesterday I couldn't remember the word. Today I remember the word. Today's word is exponentially. So you can accelerate um, your retirement, your investment funds, whatever financial picture, future exponentially with wins like that. I could not remember that word to save my life, and I was like, okay, and I just moved forward, found another one in my dictionary, and my mental dictionary is very small, and so, but I did have a word, and so I'm talking to Bella last night, and she was like, "What are you talking about exponentially?" I'm like, "Yeah, thank you, I appreciate that word." So now it's up there, and hopefully it'll stay. Okay, so today's question was a very good one. Uh, it's a it's a very sensitive topic also. Um, I won a lottery netting $1.2 million. Now what? Uh, so you can see how emotional that one is. I won a lottery netting $1.2 million. Now what? The question was much longer. Uh, and so let me start off. Uh, in the past, past couple of decades, we ran across a couple of what we call windfall winners. People that came into windfalls. Um, on the athlete side, this athlete, they've grown up, pretty much impoverished, went through college, scraped through college with a little help here and there. This was pre-meal deals, so those college athletes, they could not receive money. Uh, do a very good job, sit at the table, write their signature, boom, multimillionaire. Uh, that's one of them. Uh, a family, two daughters, lost their parents to a bad a car accident on one of the major highways, and it was actually the fault of the highway. Um, they received a little bit over $10 million. Boom, took them into to the stratosphere of money. Uh, One locally, someone won some money, and this was doing a real estate transaction, helping them buy their house. They had actually won a lottery, and so I have a couple of stories, and then some other smaller ones where they weren't like lottery level, but they were enough. It was enough money to change their life. So that's what we call a windfall. When you win enough, you receive enough money to change, like it can actually change the trajectory of your life. your financial picture or whatever, that's what we call a windfall. That's the term that's actually used in financial services. They received a windfall of cash. So so working with, the experience with those particular situations, um, there's always some steps to take that will actually get you through it, because what a windfall would do for you is the total opposite. There's only two money problems in the world: not enough or too much. And both problems are, they're just as they're bad. They can be good if you see the opportunity. They can also be bad. When you don't have enough money, you're constantly wondering, how am I going to pay bills? How am I going to do this? How am I going to eat? How am I going to do, whatever. When you have too much money, now it's, what do I do with this money? Who do I trust? Who's going to help me? Because a lot of people, they will say, man, if I won, uh, if I hit the lottery, I would do this. I would invest it. Okay, what would you invest it in? I would put it in the market. What market? Uh, I would, I would, you know, put it with this person. Who's going to help you do that? So you see the problems now, because when you have that much money, everyone wants to help you. Everyone has advice for you. Even your friends have advice for you what you should do with the money. So that's one of the problems of receiving a windfall. As you can see, there's a lot of problems here, because you just don't get the money and then just slap it in the bank. It's just not that simple. It doesn't happen that way. So the first pointer I would say is, decide who you are going to tell about the winnings. That's the first one. Decide who you're going to tell, because now in America, most of the time, if you hit a lottery, you do a big windfall, it's going to make the news. Um, but some states, they do allow you to not. You don't have to disclose your identity that you won it. I know one of the last big Powerballs, it was what, 2023. The lady that, what, she hit the $300 million, and she actually was going to sue, but then the state, uh, they favored her side and said, you don't have to disclose your identity, because she just didn't want to, and so she didn't have to. But most of the time, that's the few and far between. Most of the time, you win a lottery, no matter how big or how small, it could be like the little scratch off. It could be $5,000. It could be a $5,000 scratch off. They don't say, this person won $5,000. Hey, we have a lottery winner in the area. So most people that's watching that's watching the news, they're going to automatically say, "Oh man, they hit the big Powerball. It was just $5,000." But they didn't say all of that. All they said was, this person hit the lottery, knowing that, media, they're the masters of sensationalism and making things more than what it is. And so, most people mind, especially family members that are watching the news and see this person, they're a millionaire now. It's just $5,000. Yeah, right. So now here we go. It starts snowballing from there. So that's the first decision you need to make, because you don't hit the lottery today and get the money tomorrow. Uh, it is a process of receiving the money. You have to prove the winning ticket. You have to make a trip to the actual lottery headquarters, the show, this, that, and the other. So you have time, and that's the advice. The more money it is, the more time you should take to actually get it. Unless you just really, really, really need the money, because most states, you have 60 days. Some states you have 60 days. Some states you have up to a year to claim your winnings, and so you do have time to get some things in order. So that's the first. Decide who you're going to tell. Um, and we all know the story. We're in North Carolina. I know the girl that a few years ago, she hit the lottery, $120 million. She's working at Walmart, 3 kids, single mom, 3 kids, working at Walmart. Um, Church member. a dedicated church member, worked in the church, everything, and told the pastor one time, if I ever, and she actually paid her tithes working in Walmart. She paid her tithes from her check and everything. She had told the pastor, if I ever hit the lottery, if something like that happened, I would fund this at the church and all of this. And when she did hit the lottery, she told the pastor, I guess he came to her and said, all right, where's the cut? Where's the Lord's cut? And she reneged on it. So now you have a pastor who want to sue one of his members because she reneged on a promise. It wasn't in writing, but she said she was going to do it. So that's what happens, with money. When money makes the scene, especially a lot of money, uh, it can make people crazy. And so you have to decide right off really decide, sit down and say, hey, outside of my spouse, if I'm married, I've even had, it was one situation where a person, they wasn't married. I was like, I don't think it'd be a good idea to even tell the girlfriend yet. I really don't. It's because, you may end up being forced into a wedding, a shotgun wedding or something. But we'll move forward. So you want to make sure you decide who you're going to talk to. All right. Now, the next conversation you're going to have are two people, an attorney and an accountant, because they are the ones that will help you decide how you should receive the money and what you should do with it. And they are going to protect you. It will be their job to protect you, um, and make sure they're attorneys and professionals that are well versed in these types of situations, because not all of them know how to handle lottery winners and everything. So you wouldn't really know it. And right here, I will put right here in this space here. There are some advisors that can handle wealthy people, wealthy situations, and there are some advisors that aren't so good at that. They're just not. They don't work with those types of clients a lot. So if you do find an advisor, someone that you trust, at least if you trust them, and they may not be well versed in handling that much money, at least they can be your guide, your advisor, in helping you find those advisors, because that's what they can do. They can be your trusted advisor on making wise decisions in that area, like working with, this is the advisor you should choose. These are some good advisors. We'll go together and interview them, and I go, I've seen that work very well. We've been involved in those types of situations years ago, but we've been involved in those types of situations where, we help with the selection of the advisors, the others. And so, because there's a lot of things most people think, especially this amount of money, $1 million, most people will say, I'm going to just put it in the bank. Okay, that sounds smart. It sounds smart, and it sounds prudent. It sounds wise, but it's really not that much, because you put $1.2 million in one bank account. They're only going to insure a quarter million of it, $250,000. So the other part, something happens, you've lost over $750,000. So as you can see, it's just not that simple to just put it in the bank. So that's why you need these types of advisors. You need to decide how you're going to receive the money, because uh, Uncle Sam says, you're one of my favorite people right now. You just want all of this money, and I want 40% of it right off the top. If you take the lump sum, 40% comes here. So that's why you would need an advisor to say, well, no, I don't think it would be wise. It would be better if you just took it, especially if you're in a certain type of a financial situation. Then they would say, well, maybe you should just take the annual payout for so many years and everything, because then that you can get your tax situations in order. How you're going to do it, because this will be perfect for funding your retirement, especially like in your 40s or something like that, 30s or 40s. uh, that money can do a lot for a long period of time. And also, when people take lump sums, they tend to go crazy when they get all of that money at one time. They kind of get kind of crazy, and I'll touch a little bit more on that later. Um, because most people, they that's playing the lottery, most of the time they're not the wealthiest of people. And so now they receive all their money. They're buying airplanes, they're buying cars, they're buying houses, they're buying everything. They're paying for everyone around them. And you know, the the stat shows 5 years within winning a lottery, you're broke again. That the majority of people that win lotteries 5 years later, they're broke. They're right back at zero, maybe even worse, because now they bought all of this stuff, and it's not as worth as much as it was when they first bought it. So now they might be, hey, I went and spent $1 million, now I'm like $2 million in the hole, or whatever. So those are the types of things that has to be thought about. So that attorney and that accountant, they're the ones that can really guide you through that situation. Now, take care of those smaller expenses. There's another person to talk to, but in the meantime, while you're talking to the finding the advisors, if you do have those smaller expenses and everything, take care of those after you talk to the attorney. Let me correct that. Talk to the attorney now and you receive the money. Take care of the minor expenses, the ones if you need a place to stay, sure, take care of that. Get everything stable, and and make sure you're eating, doing things like this. Now it's time to go talk to a counselor or a therapist, because and this has been from my experience of seeing people how they've behaved with money, because money is I don't want to say it that way and sound so harsh about it, but it is like a drug. And certain drugs magnify your personality. If you were a butthole before drugs, when you're on drugs, you are a bigger butthole. So if you're a butthole without money, you're gonna be a bigger one with it. So, and I hate to put it that way, but that's just I have to use that shock factor. And I get away with it because I'm on YouTube. I'm on YouTube and everything, so I can't say it. Now, if I was on television, I wouldn't say that. I'd have to use different words. But that's what happens. It is a magnifier. It does magnify things. Um, because even and especially in America, well, around the world, money is power. There's the golden rule, and there is the rule of gold. Rule of gold, golden rule says treat others as you want to be treated. The rule of gold is he who has the gold make the rules. And so some people, when they get a lot of money, they become the rule maker. And the worst part about it is there's people that will be around them that are cool with that, because they're going to get theirs. So now it's time to spend. That's just a small amount of money to go spend some time with a therapist or a counselor, and say, because they know your life is different now. You've got to make the decisions, in a different way now, and all of that good stuff. And so this is the person, a counselor, life coach, therapist, that's going to walk you through those psychological and emotional, mental changes that you are seriously about to go through. And so that's one of the people that should be that circle, the circle of advisors. Uh, and here's the reason why I say it. One situation, it was $18 million lottery was won. Husband and wife had been together 25 years, been together, and they were making sound decisions, then they decided that where they were going to live, it had always been their dream neighborhood. So now they had the money, and where they really wanted to live, they could have afforded a whole lot more. So he was like, yeah, the advisors said, yeah, just take the cash, buy that house, because it was nice. Don't get me wrong, it was one of the nicest neighborhoods in the area, in the top three, easy, and could have been in the top one. They just didn't care too much for some of the people there, but they moved there. Not even a year later, they were divorced. Because it was two monsters. People, family came out of the woodwork. So both of them, she wanted to take care of everybody. He wanted to be wiser with the money and say, hey, I hadn't seen this person in 5 years. Now all of a sudden they are saying, you just crossed my mind. And I was like, I need to call them. I didn't cross your mind. you saw me on the news. You've heard through grapevine I've hit this lottery and everything. That's not that. Um, some of them, he was, telling me the story. It was some of the church members, some of the family, and some of the people even came, use God in the spirit. The spirit told me that I needed to check on you and all of this. Well, and I was like, okay, well, did the spirit tell you that they were supposed to come and talk to you? And he said, no. I was like, well, there you go. I'm not going to get too much further involved in it, but that's just what happens. It's just what happens. You get the money, so people think that you're supposed to take care of them. So that's why you take care of yourself. Take a break. At least once you get everything settled and on solid footing, 6 months. Give yourself 6 months. Let the money sit there. You're fine. It's not going anywhere. You have your advisors in place. 6 months, that's plenty of time to go through good therapy, um, really think about life, because when you're in struggle mode, especially if you come from struggling, poverty, things like that, you've always been in survival mode. So now you're no longer having to survive. You going, you like overnight went from surviving to actually thriving. You like in a totally different. This is a totally different world now. You will have access to people that you normally wouldn't have access to. You know, And so that's why you would want to take that 6 months. And like I say, you're going to get ready for the family, friends, people you had talked to in a long time, scammers, business opportunities, all of that. There are lists out there of people that have won lotteries. When you win a lottery, you go on a list, and those lists are sold to stockbrokers, you know, other people buy the list for scam purposes, things like that, business opportunities, like I was saying. And so your life changes a lot. It changes a lot. And so those are what I would do in the beginning from my experience and what I've seen with others, advisors that work with a lot of lottery winners and, people that receive these windfalls. Those are some of the best tips that could be given. That's what they give all the time. And so that's my take on it. And that takes me to the question of the day. Um, what would you do if you won a lottery? What would you do if you won a lottery? It's just a simple question of the day. What would you do if you won the lottery? Uh, would you? I have plenty. I mean, I could go an hour with other stories, even, people that I know close to me that have won these lotteries, and they have said before the lottery, before the windfall, you know, I would establish a homeless shelter. I would fund a homeless shelter. I would do something for, orphans, and I would do all this. They got the money, and an orphan and a homeless person hadn't seen a dollar yet. And some of them, they've lost their money and they call it back. And, and I'm like, oh, okay, whatever. Not my business, but, whatever. So that's the question. What would you do with your money? So for all of those out there that's planning to play the lottery, maybe you can keep this show in your favorites there. So if you win it, you will look at it, and then you might call us to see which direction you need to go. We can help you with taking care of lottery winnings or windfalls or whatever. So if you enjoy the show, share it, subscribe, let other people know about it, and I will be back tomorrow, same time, same channels. We'll talk.